Toyota Foundation International Grant Program Project Reports. Let's talk about empathy. Conversations between the grantees. From Grant Project Part 1 Education. The speakers for this session are Kanako Kusanagi and Sayaka Hashimoto. Hello, my name is Kanako Kusanagi from the Center for Advanced School Education and Evidence-Based Research, Graduate School of Education, University of Tokyo. My name is Sayaka Hashimoto, Visitor and Sales Team Officer at NPO Salasusu. Thank you for having me today. Our project partner, Mr. Tetang's University, is in Serang, Banten Province, which is a very poor area. And through dialogue with the students there, I came to understand their situation. University students do not know if they want to be a teacher, but their parents and grandparents want them to be one. The reason why they hesitate to be a teacher is that in Indonesia, people facing towards the government rather than the children are more successful in their teaching careers, and the situation is not that favorable for those who focus more on the children. I wanted to support those who want to be teacher and attentive to children. This situation is the same in Japan too. Hardworking teachers may not always be rewarded, and some leave teaching due to overwork. Through the project, I met such people. I was brought up, went to university, and became a teacher without having to think very hard on my own. The first setback in my life was during my first year of teaching. I never thought hard on my own, and once I became a teacher, I suddenly found 38 children in front of me, and I was left to manage their daily school life as their homeroom teacher. In the midst of all this, many unexpected situations happened, such as COVID-19 pandemic, and I was at a loss what to do back then. As a teacher, I asked pupils to act in a so-called appropriate way, but it was not necessarily appropriate from their standpoint. They may not do their homework, they may not keep time, they may not eat school lunch because they had their own reasons for not following my words, but as a teacher I had to say, that's not acceptable. I, on the other hand, began to wonder why I myself could not listen to them, why I didn't have the time to do so. I gradually started wondering if I was really doing right or not. I was trapped between such thoughts. I was caught in the gaps between myself as a teacher and my own self, and I was unsure of what and how to teach the students in front of me. I happened to have a similar experience when I went to Cambodia by chance. The experience reminded me once again how I knew nothing and could not do much. I was horrified to think that I, who knew so little, was teaching as a teacher. What a small world I was living in. This experience became my turning point. I thought of the wide gap in Japan where people graduate university, and from day one, entering the society as a teacher, you are required to think on your own, demonstrate more unique perception and thought, and nurture more diverse thinking. In this project, I wanted to soften such gap with teachers in the front line. And to research on how teachers can bring a positive impact on children if they can do what they themselves wanted to do. The project was initiated with the hope of filling the gap between teachers' role and individual self at hand, even just a little. A teacher in Cambodia shared his school day memory of being beaten with a bamboo stick or something by his teacher. That happened when he forgot to do his homework. He started disliking studying until around junior high school. However, He happened to meet NPOs and NGOs in his teens who opened his eyes. He learned the importance of education. He discovered what hope education can bring and how important it was for his country. When this topic was brought up, a Japanese teacher also shared his memory. Acting as a group is absolutely required in Japan, thus he was left out of the loop when he took slightly different actions from the others, and that was painful. That's not a good situation, and it spurred discussion. This led to a dialogue that, as a leader of education, teachers should be able to lead children to a more positive direction, and I very much resonated with this conversation. I heard many teachers from Indonesia and Malaysia say that COVID triggered them to think back on their lives, their own values, the ideology valued by their country, why they became educators.
特に今回のコロナをきっかけに皆さん振り返ったのかなっていうような言葉がたくさん出てましたね。インドネシアの
There was a dialogue with a principal of an Indonesian school and a principal of a Japanese kindergarten and former principal of an elementary school devoted in Tokatsu for a long time. There was an aha moment for the Indonesian principal, recalling how rewarding it was to be an educator. Online education was triggered by the pandemic and has been going on for almost 2 years in Indonesia. Parents started voicing dissatisfaction. Parents felt that their children were not receiving adequate education. The principal did not know what to do with their concerns. When the distress was shared, the Japanese principal said, "I understand what you are saying, but the parents and teachers share a common goal. Our goal is to provide an enjoyable and good learning environment for the children. If you could explain that clearly, parents will definitely support you. To gain such support, you must first explain what and how children are learning and explain your thoughts behind providing education, and they will be happy to support you." When the Indonesian principal heard the word, he said, "I felt we were being blamed, but as long as we believe we are sharing the same goal in what we are trying to achieve, if we have opportunities for dialogue, we can learn from each other and feel a sense of fulfillment and joy as educators." I just remember that impressive conversation listening to your comment. It may seem easy to learn from each other, but in fact it is very difficult. The challenge in the field of education, especially in emerging countries, is that the focus is on academic achievement, so there is a strong sense that students are studying for exams and teachers have to be so-called correct or teach correct knowledge. So even though we are working on a holistic education model, we are still concerned about what kind of educational practice is the right way to go. For example, when we promote active learning, only a few students can benefit from it. There were questions to the Japanese teachers and myself as to how we could get them to participate. But it is the teachers themselves who can find out how to do that. The only solution is for the teacher to explore it with the children. There is no right answer, so you have to have a paradigm-shifting way of thinking to find it. It was quite difficult in the beginning, and I was careful not to treat the workshop speakers as experts. I tried not to teach, but rather try to have them exchange practices with each other. And during that, some have come to understand that different schools have different practices and that they are created through trial and error. But to be honest, I think there are still many who don't have a clear idea of what I was talking about. People will not realize the skills they lacked or what they really wanted to do until they actually try out.
自分は本当はこういうことをしたいんだっていうことになるので、そこまでに
So it was very difficult to bring the teachers into that kind of situation.
場に持っていくまでがすごく私はなんか難しくて、どういうふうに
In hindsight, I really struggled with the question of how to create a place where teachers could express what they really wanted to do as true self to people around them,
っていけたらいいんだろうっていう、しかも
and how to draw out such feelings from the teachers on the online platform.
もう本当に冒頭すごく悩んだなって今振り返ると思います。
The pandemic has made it almost impossible to do things in the conventional way. In international exchange, many unexpected things happen. Teachers can no longer always be correct or just be teachers.
先生でさっきの橋本さんの話じゃない先生でいられなくなって
They must disclose their personality, personal interest, and who they are.
どんな関心があるんだろうみたいなことが問われるので、そういう意味
That is an exciting part of the project. To build an inclusive society, we need to be able to express ourselves freely. We need to be going beyond what we are expected to be as students and teachers and change the norms and framework of society. Until now, teachers were restricted by their roles, and this has made it difficult for them to live. In a sense, this has been a frustration in education. But I think it is possible for even educators and learners who are required to follow and abide by school rules to be able to be themselves within the rules, or rather to work to change those rules and the social framework.
枠組みを変えていけるような取り組みができると思う。
プロジェクト
Through the project, there were times when I focused on how to break the shell of the teachers.
と力をかけるみたいな場面があったんですけども、それをそういう時間を過ごしながら、
But there were many times when I realized that I was looking at the person in front of me as a teacher,
見ているなっていう場面もたくさんあって、自分
and I was conflicted about whether I was seeing the person in front of me as an individual person or
み
not.
たいなところも結構葛藤があったなと思っていて、今後
Going forward, when I meet various people in projects and in my life, it will be very important for me to have dialogue and secure time for talks when I have to revisit how I view my counterpart and how they view
そ
myself.
の時に必ず対話とかそういうそのための余白の時間みたいなことってすごく大事になってくるよなという。なんか
I think I learned some important lessons for my life from this project.
プロジェクトだった